The mini scrubber is it flows about 1 gallon a minute. It's flow restricted at 1 gallon a minute. So we could conceivably use a 1 gallon per minute UV lamp, which is the smallest one we carry, and it's back here on the board. It's a real tiny one. Now, if this is not a drinking water application, and you're just trying to clean up a little bit of bacteria, maybe in a feed water supply like a well, and you're just watering plants, you could get away with a 1 gallon a minute UV. But most often I like to up the size of the UV so that as the bulb in the ultraviolet light gets weaker, or the glass sleeve that's in this light gets dirty from the feed water going through it, it still has some headroom of effectiveness. So on this mini scrub, I'm going to hook up a 2 gallon a minute UV. Now, in the UV box, you get the stainless steel UV body. You get 2 mounting clips. You get some fittings. You have the bulb itself and a power transformer. So on a mini scrub, we have to remove a couple screws on the housing cap. You can opt to take out both the outside screws and then put one back in. That's the way I do it. You could also just take out one and let the clamp sit above it a little bit like that. A lot of people do that. I'm going to take out both. Like so. And I just did the outboard clips here on the outside. And I don't need the washers. And I'm just going to put one back in. Don't over tighten these. These are going into plastics, so we don't want to over tighten it. And I'm going to put the next clip on, just like so. And that's it. Now the next thing I like to do is twist the caps a little bit, make sure they're tight, don't over tighten them, and then install the stainless body. I like to do this before I put the bulb in so that I don't jar the bulb and cause a premature failure. Now these fittings come taped in the box with thread tape already on them, and you could screw them in right here. I'm just going to hand tighten them for this demonstration. So I'm just going to finger tighten these clips. We've talked about this in other areas of this tech library. Never touch the glass itself. You can touch the ceramic ends, but not the glass. You'll call it. The oil on your fingers can cause a premature failure on a bulb like so. So install the bulb into the housing. Not all the way yet, because the next thing is to install the plug in the transformer. So grab again the ceramic. The transformer only goes in one way. Now you can push the bulb in all the way, like so. Real simple. Then you can slide on the plastic boot. You can even push the cord in a little bit and make sure the bulb is all the way seated. Now the bulb is installed correctly. Now you take the output of the mini scrub, which is plumbed 3/8, and you run it to the input of the UV. Now these are bi-directional, so you could plumb it in to this port or this port. It doesn't matter. We also give you some stem elbows if you want to plug them in for a cleaner installation. You can do it like so. And I'll just cut the tubing a little long, about right here. And plug it in like that. Let it go back like that. Now that's all there is for installing the UV. The last thing to do is to turn it on. So we're going to grab some 120 volt mains power right here, and I'm going to plug it in. And it's a real simple thing to look for here. There's a green light on the ballast. If the green light is lit, the bulb is lit. If the green light is not lit, the bulb is not lit. And so if you're wondering if this bulb is working, you have to check the ballast. Never look into a UV bulb Never pull it out and light it outside of the container, the stainless housing, because it's ultraviolet light and you could hurt your eyes. So you never want to stare at a UV bulb. Just go by the light that's on the ballast. Maintenance on a UV light is pretty simple. When you use these UVs, you just want to keep them on all the time. The reason is, if you have bacteria in the feed water supply and you shut the UV off, well, then bacteria can work its way through the UV body. So we keep the UV on 24/7. This way, any bacteria in the feed water supply gets eradicated anytime it comes in contact with the UV light in there. The bulbs last about a year, so the recommended change schedule is 1 year. If there's a premature failure, then you have to change it sooner, but that's almost never the case. The bulbs get weaker over time, so they're less effective at eradicating bacteria and microorganisms, so after a year, just change them. And to change it, disconnect the 120 volt mains, and the replacement is quite easy. You just undo the plastic boot, pull the old bulb off, and put the new bulb on. Now, another thing to check for on UVs once in a while, if you're on a really dirty feed water supply, is to check the glass sleeve. Now, I'm going to pull off both caps for this. And there's 2 O-rings on the ends of the quartz sleeve. And if you remove those O-rings, the quartz sleeve comes right out, like this. Now, if you're on a really dirty water supply, this quartz sleeve can get dirty. And if it's dirty, the bulb which sits inside it, like so, the dirt could be blocking the UV rays from hitting the bacteria and microorganisms. So it's good, occasionally, to check this quartz sleeve and clean it off, the outside of it. After it's clean, just install it back in the UV. Put on your O-rings again. And let the O-rings slide down all the way to meet the UV body, like so. And then you can reattach your end caps. Don't over tighten these. Once you feel them make contact with the O-rings, then just turn them a little bit until the tension builds up, and don't go too far. And that's it for maintenance on a UV.